The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Open line on Mannin Line today, so your thoughts on really whatever you want. The floor's yours. Mannin Line is your programme. Have your say about the issues in the news, be they heavy, light or in between. Text 166 177, WhatsApp same number, email studio@manxradio.com, or you're on the air by calling 66 1368. And first on the air today, let's go to Howard's with us. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. Good day. Well, every day is a good day.
Well, another day above ground's fantastic, Howard, but the weather makes a lot more of it, doesn't it?
It does that, yes. I said to Chris, if it stays like this till October and then improve, we won't complain. No, just look at, well, yours, FM and Energy have all got the same thing on, the MHKs pay rise. And it's going to a whisker under 79,000.
Yeah.
But, now, correct me if I'm wrong, did they not vote several years ago to up their actual rate, their base rate, and then not have any other perks as such as being a minister, being a chairman or chairwoman or whatever?
Yeah.
But looking at this... Go on.
No, they flattened it all out, didn't they? So that
they did, yeah.
Because they said there will be accusations of cronyism if somebody was given a place as a minister or a place in a department or what have you. So they flattened the whole thing out. Yeah,
but reading what's come through here, as a result of this, MHKs will see their pay rise from 75,900 odd to 78,900. You know, this is all, there's other figures out of it, but small ones. However, say on top of this, the Chief Minister gets an extra 30%, the Speaker, Ministers and President get an extra 15%, and at the Post Office, Trading, MUA, Public Accounts, they will all get an extra 5% on top of their wage. So when they get this 4% wage rise, salary rise, and then they get the 15%, that will be the equivalent of a 19% pay rise.
Yeah.
And the Post Office and all them, and all the chairmen, chairpersons, whatever they call themselves, will get equivalent of 9%. And there's nowhere in the working population, the rest of the PSC, they'll only get in the bare bones 4%. So this is a perk that I thought had been done away with. Plus, last week I think it was, they said they're going to have to pay for their parking. Well, you can guarantee that will be put onto their expenses. So that public, you, me, and everybody else that's here paying tax, we'll be paying for the MHK's parking. If Joe Blogg's going to work down in a shop, an office or something downtown, has to park there all day, they will either have to have a permit, pay for it themselves, or scratch around Douglas and keep moving their vehicle. So these people, as MHKs, etc., they are bleeding the system dry by the looks of it.
Well, the thing is that, how can I put it? Nowadays there's a phrase, isn't there? Read the room. And you would first of all, it doesn't look very good, does it? I mean, whether or not they're worth the money is another matter. But when everybody else is struggling and everybody else is trying to scrabble on, the fact that this happens automatically is it doesn't look good.
It doesn't. Well, the 4%, that is across the board. That's all the workers within the PCS, or PSC is the Public Service Commission. But have the cheek to take a bundle on top of that that the person out on the roads in all weathers where they've been praising them, singing their praises for all when the storms, and these lads are out cutting trees, digging holes, clearing drains, they're getting 4%. That'll do them. And then this lot are getting 4% plus their perks. So that's going to they're going to be on 79. They're going to be on 85,000, something like that a year. Now, the politicians in the UK are only on about 90,000. So where do our lot? And reading further down, Jersey. The members of Jersey, they're paid £50,000 per annum, regardless of whether they take on additional ministerial scrutiny. And in Guernsey, they've actually taken a pay cut. So why do our lot consider themselves to be above the plot and awarding themselves the extra? And as I say, you can guarantee that their parking charges will go on the bill and we'll be paying for it.
It will be interesting to see what individual members have to say about this. Because
not very much. Turkeys don't vote for Christmas.
I mean, there is a thought as well, Howard. I mean, in the past, some people have taken a pay cut to go into Keys. So
not very many. I've got 5 fingers on one hand, and I'd have a job to fill them.
Well, I mean, I can think of one certainly in the past 10 years, and that was Paul Quine.
Paul.
Douglas Central, the airline pilot, took a pay cut to go into. So, but for a lot of people, this is the most money they're ever going to earn.
Well, that's not an excuse to have an exorbitant wage structure.
Well, the thing is that this is what was wanted. They didn't want gentlemen, and they were mainly gentlemen politicians. They didn't want people who were mainly in business and filled in as an MHK as a side job. We now have people who do it as a full-time job, and that's what the rate is. They aligned it to the civil service spine a few years ago, and this is what the civil service spine says.
But the civil service, I'm sorry to interrupt, Andy, but the civil service spine gives you the standard wage, which has been raised by 4%. And as they say, and you said it before, they levelled out the wage structure, the salary structure, so as not to have anybody earning more than one or the other. And here they are, still getting 30% for the Chief Minister extra. The Speaker of Ministers is getting an extra 15%. And the chairman, chairpersons or whatever are getting an extra 5%. And that'll be on top of their salary. So it's not fair to the rest of the PSC that these people are accruing a very large salary to the detriment of the others. I was a shop steward for many years, and never did we ever get anything like that as a wage rise. At 19%, 9% is the smallest one, and that's for the chairman. So, it wants sorting out good and proper, because these people are becoming dictatorial and just taking the money, and when the time comes, they'll take the money and run. And all this will be going into their pension pot, because then, they're now contributing to that. What they are contributing, I'm not altogether sure, but that'll go into their pension pot, and after X number of years, they can bail out. And not only that, they get redundancy money from what would be a 5-term signed contract, and then they can get redundancy money if they don't get re-elected, which is farcical.
Okay.
But just as a good thing there, I notice on the military museum down there are going to put on it's been there for years, the ATP, and they'll give you a chance to go on board because they've now dropped the name, Manx Airlines. But having said that, you weren't allowed to go on it for safety reasons, but the hoping against hope it's painted up, and the name on the back of it is not a fictitious one, Maud, G. Maud. Well, from what I'm led to believe, G. Maud was the lady who used to be personal secretary to Terry Lydiard.
Oh, wow.
And there's a registration that's on the back of that aircraft, although it is, in a sense, an imaginary one, but that was in recognition of the work that this lady done for many, many years within the company Manx Airlines.
Oh, good. Well, the Aviation Museum's a fantastic facility.
Yep.
And we wish them all the best for the spring and summer.
And another bit of good news. It's Good News Week. We've had a fair bit of work done on the camera obscurer this week.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep, I've been up, and apart from the people, the scaffold hopefully is coming down tomorrow, and that hopefully, again, it's all weather dependent, should be open over the Easter period.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great. Well, let us know as soon as you can if it is, because Easter is, crikey, it's 2 weeks on Friday.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
All right.
Yeah. But everything's in working order in there now, and hopefully just come up and see a piece of our unique history up there. It's 1897.
Okay.
That's when she was built.
All right, Howard, we wish you well. Thanks for calling today.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye. 17 minutes past 12, and David's on now. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. Just quickly, you have to laugh at the DOI. I sent you the picture of the shelter in Port Jack.
Yes.
Do you remember that last year?
Yes, I do, yes.
In poor condition. I don't know whether you've got it in front of you, and you could probably read out the poster, because I think this shelter in Port Jack now is an AI facility, because it says here, "Hi everybody, it's been a while and I've been well publicised. I'm looking rather sorry for myself at the moment. However, there is good news. I've been told," so that's the shelter's been told, nobody else, "I'm due for a makeover in the coming weeks, and I'll be looking much more presentable." Now, I put a request into the DOI 3 weeks ago, still waiting for the date for it to happen so I can get a ribbon.
Crikey.
So,
it'll be a big day.
It'll be a big day, but I'm going to add to the flavour there. Do you remember Jeff Robinson when we had the consultation over heavy goods vehicles?
Yes,
parking in
yeah, that's right. Was it big vans and heavy goods vehicles?
Yeah, and we also had another one that was sent out to the post under the chief executive. The lady was called More Blessing, and it was you were asked all sorts of questions about the DOI under their umbrella. Do you remember that going out? And
I do, yes. Whatever happened to that?
Well, that's what I want to know too, and I just wondered why we're not getting their answers. If you're prepared to put a questionnaire out and people correspond to it, what's the answers?
And I'm just trying to remember, because Jeff Robinson is the kind of highway supremo, isn't he? And this was about people parking basically work vans and trucks and what have you in residential areas, and this went out to all local authorities, was it? And
we all responded. We all responded with some views, some negative views.
And this was when?
We got the. It was it's well over a year now, but they seem to have forgotten about it. So they need to get in the drawers and pick it back up. Because in Belgravia Road now we've got the camper vans coming back, and we got the horse box. But I've checked this morning, there's no horse in it.
Okay, all right.
I did knock on the thing. But I wanted to mention too which is coming up, it's to do with DOI as well. Never mind about the 400,000 for signs. I just can't believe that's coming out of the minister. And I just wondered, did the minister or the members ever meet and discuss that particular issue? And that's why we want freedom of information requests not to be charged, because we want to know what's going on there. The other one, Andy, too, and I'll flip away, is to do with Mr. Hooper's little amendment that's now part of the DOI bill that's running forward. And the local authorities now are sending letters to the MLCs. I've had it confirmed this morning, and the President symboled to intervene in the issue, because the Keys is not doing anything about it.
Okay,
all right.
I appreciate that. Thanks for calling. Good to hear from you. And let's get to Malcolm is with us now on Mannin Line. Hi, Malcolm.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
The thing is, they tried to introduce this in Wales, the 20-mile-an-hour limit.
Yeah.
And it only lasted 5 minutes. I don't know why it got kicked out, but I was wondering whether the Manx government could get in touch with the Welsh authorities and ask them why it didn't work before they spend £500,000, basically.
Well, why didn't it work in Wales?
Well, that's what I don't know, but that's what the Manx government should be asking.
I mean, do you agree with the 20-mile-an-hour limit?
No. I think the reason why it didn't work in Wales would be because of congestion. I would have said, and you're going to get the same problem on the Isle of Man, especially at peak hours.
Right, okay. And the fact is, I mean, they're billing it as a safety issue, and the fact that keeping traffic down to that speed will be safe.
Yeah, but like I said, they tried it in Wales, and why haven't they sort of got in touch with the Welsh authority and found out why it didn't work?
All right, okay. All right, well, we'll wait for that, Malcolm. Thanks for raising that point today. If anybody knows why it didn't work in Wales or whether or not we're going to do it, it seems to be on the way, this 20-mile-an-hour zone, or whether or not it's a precursor to an all-island speed limit. We don't know, do we? Can't remember it being in anybody's manifesto. Don't think there was anything about this. Julian's with us now. Hi, Julian.
You just read my mind about not mentioned in manifestos. I think the problem with Wales was everyone hated it. Traffic flow gets disrupted. You don't get that natural flow off the line. So, as each car is backed up, you don't just get that movement and get the thing through, which of course makes pollution worse. They measure the particulates as worse. So I would imagine the Green Party will be against this, won't they, from a pollution point of view? If you look at it from a positive, if you actually look at what is the most efficient speed for an electric vehicle, it's 20. So maybe that's the game, that they're trying to get it down so that the pollution will be reduced because you have more inefficient petrol and diesel vehicles.
Well, the trouble is that
the
we don't quite know what's going to happen. And as with anything like this, there could be the law of unintended consequences. Anything could happen. I mean, there are lots of vehicles that, as you say, chuck out more pollution at 20 miles per hour than they do when they get higher. The diesel filter and what have you, and doesn't work at that speed. That'll be worse. And also, catalytic converters need heat to get moving, and it's certainly not going to happen at 20 miles per hour. So who knows? Yeah. There's the idea about people speeding up between certain limits. What's going to happen? What's it going to do to the tourist trade, particularly during the motorsport festivals? We don't quite know. And I'll just go on again. It bears restating, nobody suggested this at the last election. Not one MHK was elected on a manifesto of, I intend to propose a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit.
But the thing is, though, is it logical to conclude that if it's being rolled out to reduce risk and improve safety, what's in it for us? Are our local insurance premiums going to be recoded downwards and make it cheaper for insurance? Because if the risk coding is lower, there might be an argument, well, you know what, we might consider this if we get several £100 taken off everybody's insurance premium, because why would it stay the same if we're going to be safer?
Why do you think it's been proposed?
Well, it's not proposed, it's been rammed through, isn't it? There's been no consultation either with the public or the local authorities. And is it true that all the signage has been bought? And what I don't understand is inflation has gone up since 2022, hasn't it, Andy? I would have thought.
Yeah, it normally goes up, yeah.
Because Manx Radio reported in November of 2022 that the Treasury refused to do the 20-mile-an-hour zone then because it was 2.9 million in signage and work to do it. So unless inflation has dropped 700%, how is it only 400,000 now?
I wonder. Okay. All right. Thanks, Julian.
Yeah. Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
12:25. Actually, I don't know whether you heard, just a wee while ago, Nick Freeman was interviewed on Manx Radio. Nick Freeman is known as Mr. Loophole. He's one of the UK's leading solicitors when it comes to traffic offences, and he's representable all sorts of people. Jeremy Clarkson, Alex Ferguson, David Beckham. Do you remember? I think he got David Beckham off a speeding ticket. And he's very vocal when it comes to 20-mile-per-hour zones. This is what Mr. Loophole, Nick Freeman, has to say about the Isle of Man's 20-mile-per-hour zone.
It's going to be extremely unpopular with the general motoring public. They will see this as them being used as a cash cow. It does alienate them from the authorities, which is something that the authorities don't want to do anywhere. Probably more so on a small independent governed island like the Isle of Man than anywhere else. To me, it's completely pointless. It's counterintuitive. I drive all over the country, I do a massive mileage, and every time I hit a 20 mile an hour, I think you're obsessed with your speedometer. So you're not concentrating on what's happening around you. You're looking at that speedometer all the time, which I think is dangerous. It's carbon neutral. Journey times obviously take about a third of the time longer. Certain people, such as taxi drivers, are going to be very, very frustrated by it. Delivery drivers are going to be very frustrated by it because it's going to hit them hard in the pocket. It's expensive to implement. Wales implemented it, or they did implement it recently, and I think the cost to the economy over a period of time is estimated at being £4.6 billion. It's costly to install, and of course it then needs policing, and I don't believe that the Isle of Man has the infrastructure that's there, and I don't think from a sort of a beauty perspective they want to litter their roads with cameras, which is unsightly street furniture. I think it's going to do the tourist industry a lot of harm. I know people, I live in Cheshire, and from friends anecdotally and myself, I don't really want to go to Wales anymore because it's just too slow. It's a beautiful place like the Isle of Man, but you don't want to be sitting at 20 miles an hour. Not only is it counterintuitive, but actually modern cars are not designed to go at that speed. You feel when you're traveling at that speed, actually, I might as well get out and walk. And of course, while some may say that's exactly what we're trying to achieve, that certainly doesn't work, and it's a ridiculous idea. Yes, have it on a dynamic basis in sensible places, but just to introduce it in all residential areas, unnecessary. It's not going to achieve anything any good. It's going to be very unpopular, and I just can't see the point in it, to be quite honest with you. And people are going to have to pay for it, not only in terms of the fines, but they're also going to have to pay for its implementation and policing to make it work.
The public have until this Friday in which to voice their concerns with the government here about this. What should they say?
If anyone says it's road safety, the statistics don't bear that out. What the people in the Isle of Man should do is they should petition the government very hard and say, what is the point in this? Explain on a blanket basis, how is there any merit in this? And how are you going to enforce it? And do you really want to get everyone off the road accumulating 12 points in 3 years because they're not going to be able to argue exceptional hardship? Is that really what the government is about? Or actually, should we stick to our unique heritage, drive sensibly, and trust the public and just have the implementation of sensible speed limits?
Mr. Loophole, that was. Nick Freeman, the solicitor, as you said, based in Cheshire, and that was recorded before the whole thing was implemented. But a very interesting point of view, and I wonder if you've got anything to add on that. Text, email, call, WhatsApp on Mannin Line, open line today. Here's Adam now. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Andy. You all right? How are you today?
Very well. It's a lovely day.
It is beautiful today. I'm just ringing up... Just recently on the Mannin Line, there's been lots of people ringing up wanting to get rid of a local government and replace them with an alternative system. Most commonly, people calling for it to be divided into a north, south, east and west system, plus Douglas of local government. And I'm just thinking, on an island where so much is done about heritage and history, and where it seems to be valued so much, why are people prepared to throw away thousands of years' worth of history, of living heritage that exists in the existing parish and seeding local government system on the island, which is intertwined with the church and with every aspect of Manx history? In pre-Viking times, the island was divided into treens, and every treen had its own keel. The treens themselves divided into quarterlands and intacts, and the farms in the Isle of Man, a lot of them still conform to the ancient division of the land, which is into quarter land and intax. And then when the Vikings came along, the parish churches were built on the site of Keele Chapels, and the parishes conformed to the Keele boundaries, and they every parish obviously has its own church, its own patron saint, and there's 3 parishes in every sheading, except for Glenfaber, which has 2, as we know. So you've got layer upon layer of history. You've got the pre-Celtic history in the parishes, the trees, and the boundaries of the parishes. You've got the Viking history and the formation of the sheadings. And you've got, on top of that, you've got every sheading has a coroner. Every sheading elects 2 MHKs to the House of Keys. So it's very much part of Manx culture to have the island divided this way. And for people to come along and say they want to just get rid of it is, to me, preposterous, because it is a fundamental living part. It's what makes the place Manx. If you get rid of that, you know, there's no point having all the heritage attractions and tourism, heritage attractions and history and things, and Manx, you know, a centre of Manx studies. It's a waste of time, because you are destroying the living heritage, the living Manx culture, the cultural fabric of the Isle of Man.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about the fact that when and I'll look very carefully on the 24th of this month to see what the turnout is for local elections. Typically, the turnout for local elections is a lot less than it is at our national elections, and often commissioners are returned unopposed. Not many candidates stand, so the idea of democracy becomes sterile, really, because, you know, often there aren't contested elections.
Yeah, well, I mean, it may be the case, Andy, that some reform is needed, and I'm not completely opposed to reform, but I think it should be done in a way. Obviously, in the past, there's been reform in Viking and Victorian times when the commissioners were founded and things, and there's been a development, but things have developed based on what was there previously, and things have evolved in a continuum, and that should still be the case. You know, if you want to make fewer local government bodies on the Isle of Man and hopefully get more people interested in local politics, then all you have to do is merge the parish commissioners into sheading commissioners, you know, parish and village commissioners into sheading commissioners. And the towns may wish to keep theirs. You could put Onchan Parish in with Mackald and Lonnan to make Garth included into Garth, and then have Onchan with Douglas as a greater Douglas authority. You know, it's not difficult. All you have to do is merge, but it needs to be done in a way which respects the existing system, because the existing system is ancient and it's our living heritage. So It's fine to reform it. You know, it's fine for them to reform it, but if they really want to reform it, then it needs to be within the existing framework and within the traditions that exist, and respecting those traditions. And or, I mean, they could even, if they really wanted to cut down the number of local authorities totally, they could have 2 sheadings each. The 6 sheadings, 2 sheadings in each local authority. So you could have, I don't know, Rushen and Glenfaber, Middle and Garth, and Ayr and Michael. And you know, and have a 3+1 system or something. But I think it would be a shame, really, to get rid of the town commissioners in places like Peel, because they do such a good job of creating a local identity and forging, sort of having all sorts of local events. Peel, they've got the Peel Carnival. Peel's a good example because they do loads of things. They've got this Evolden Fire Festival coming up, and they've got the Viking longboat races, and the commissioners are all involved in all of these things and getting them sorted. So it would be a tragedy, really, to get rid of places like Peel and Ramsey and Port Erin. I think it'd be a shame to get rid of the local commissioners who create such a great sense of identity and run the lifeboat days and everything. But in terms of the parishes, they could merge them into sheading commissioners, and why not do that in a way which respects the Manx cultural framework, as opposed to this kind of awful idea of getting a north, south, east, and west one, which has no relevance to anything in history. It's just a modern conception of the way the island divides.
Interesting point of view. All right, Adam, good to hear from you. Thanks for that.
Nice to hear from you. Nice to speak to you, Andy. Take care.
Bye-bye. It's 25 to 1, and a message now from the answer phone.
Hello. Would it be possible to have the flags and the banners up for Easter? Last year, the cruise ships came in, the TT came and went, and the promenade, which looked a mess, didn't have any. They're all sitting there in some building. Could they not go up for Easter? Also, the planters, they don't go up till after the end of June, when the season's well on its way. It would all help to make the approach to Douglas look so much nicer. Bye-bye.
Any thoughts on this? We are putting a question into Douglas City Council, to see when the planters and the flags will be fluttering and flying and luxuriating in the sunshine. And as soon as we know, then you'll know. Any thoughts on what you've heard so far? Text, email, call, WhatsApp, Mannin Line on Manx Radio.
The island's specialists in high-quality bespoke garden and landscaping products, Green Valley Farm Supplies, have a brand new website.
Yes, just visit greenvalley.im for everything from composite decking, fencing, greenhouses, garden furniture, and their stunning bespoke driveway gates.
All delivered and installed island-wide. That's greenvalley.im, your new favourite source for all your landscaping and garden needs.
Green Valley Farm Supplies' new website, now live, greenvalley.im.
Back pain, neck pain, headaches, joint pain. At Align for Life Spine and Posture Clinic, we've been helping Manx residents for 15 years with our holistic, evidence-based care and therapies. Plus, we're now open Saturdays to make it even easier to see us. Visit our brand new website at alignforlife.com or find us on Facebook for opening hours and more information. Align for Life, 15 years serving the community of the Isle of Man.
Don't miss the Cane and Wicker furniture range in store at Millichaps of Ramsey. Includes sofas, chairs and swivel rocker chairs, dining sets and coffee tables, with designs featuring quality frames, beautiful fabrics including Laura Ashley designs, and comfortable fully sprung seats with leather bindings. Plus, we have special offer suites and a huge range of window blinds to complement. Discover exclusive Cane and Wicker furniture in store now at Millichaps of Ramsey.
Having suffered their heaviest home defeat of the season last time out, can FC Isle of Man bounce back in the NWCFL Premier Division this weekend? Hoping to end their ever-increasingly difficult run of results, can the visits of Charnock Richard to the Bowl on Saturday help the Ravens get off the ground again? Join me, Rob Pritchard and Tony Mepham for FC Isle of Man versus Charnock Richard, kicking off at 6 p.m. on Saturday. Manx Radio will be bringing you full live match commentary on our DAB and AM 1368 channels. Live coverage of FC Isle of Man on Manx Radio is supported by Selton, investing in our community.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
22 minutes now before 1. A note in from 822 says, just a thought we could buy those Welsh shines for half price. Perhaps. Here's Jeffrey. Hi, Jeffrey.
Well, okay. Now, my point of view is, why is it going ahead? Why are the government themselves not stepping in? That's the reason I feel that nobody's been asked about all this. And the other point I got to put you, I have a friend who lives in Wales. He's moved now, and he used to tell me only last year that the cars going out of these estates onto the main road used to back up, he said, more or less to nearly the end of some of the estates. And at the same time, the kids were walking to school. Now, this comes with the argument from Wales themselves, where the parents used to say, it's ridiculous. The queue, and they're all running diesel, petrols, and these kids are walking to school. Now, I don't know if you recall, many years ago, a beautiful young girl died on the same principle that she walked to school amongst the traffic. I don't know if you remember that. She got asthma badly and didn't survive.
Right.
And it was down to the exhaust off the car, so she was walking to school. Well, that's what happens in Wales. Although they've got the 20 mile an hour in the school, it's the cars that are going past the school to go to work. Now, if you can think of Onken as one, Solby be another, why isn't anybody stopping this happening? She's gone behind people's back and started putting up all the silage. Why isn't somebody stepping in and say, this is not going to happen? I will say now, when the TT starts, that's when you're going to have more problems.
Yeah.
And you also have an accident. And if somebody gets killed because of it, is it too late?
Well, at the moment, it's going in residential areas across the Isle of Man. That's
But that's it, though. You take Onken, and You've been yonking, you go into that estate, it's a big estate, and they've got to come out of there to get down to the school. So you have a line of cars going up at 8:30 or 8:30 whatever, and they're all queuing up because they're all doing 20 miles an hour to the end. You know yourself, if you're on a estate, you will go there, you'll get out, but no, there's a queue. Everybody's going out at the same time, so you'll have a queue, 30, 40 cars, and at the same time, past the bungalows, past the houses, kids are going out with mum and dad walking to school. I don't think it's been thought through. I think outside the school area is fine. But putting a blanket on estates, it's going to cause problems. And the first child that gets seriously ill, it's going to be too late.
So what's your message to the politicians, Jeffrey?
Do it as Will's planned, like the gentleman said in England. Have it outside schools. It's going to be a struggle to police all this unless they want the money. And I believe the chief constable come on and said he was never asked. We need it round the schools. Through a blanket through all the estates. It could be, like you said earlier, that they want to do a blanket speed limit around Ireland, 30, 40, 50. We cannot go down this road. The Isle of Man is unique. It's worldwide. Everybody knows the Isle of Man. And you start having people piling into the island on holiday and say, I've got to hire a car, I can only do 20 miles an hour, here I can only do... They're not going to bother. They're not going to bother. The school situation's great, but I can assure you, once it starts and there's a queue coming out any of these estates and the kids are walking to school, the first child that gets ill, she should be held responsible.
Okay. All right, Jeffrey, we appreciate your points. Thanks for calling today.
Okay. Bye-bye.
18 minutes before 1, and Mark's with us now. Hi, Mark.
Andy, how you doing, fella?
I wish I was outside and not inside, I'll tell you that much.
Actually, it's not bad outside unless you sit in the shade, then it's pretty cold. But that's not what I rang up about. What I rang up about is my usual bugbear, and that's cruise ships.
Yeah.
I've got no time for them. I don't like them. I just think they're a pointless and utterly mind-blowingly polluting thing. And the reason I mention this is I was on the internet last night because I thought, right, let's have a look. Let's have a little thing, because I remember a while back the Orkney Islands were talking about taking a vote to ban the cruise ships.
Yeah.
Now, Orkney's got a natural harbour, a natural bay, and it's a very, very deep bay. So the cruise ships, some of these monsters, 250,000 tons. I mean, if anybody's listened to this and they can't picture that, picture the Manxman 10 times bigger, and you'll get an idea of how big these ships are. And the Orkney Islands have been famous for donkey's years for their shellfish, their queenies, their crab, their lobsters, their prawns, the world over. But in the last 5 or 6 years, it's been decimated. They don't have an industry anymore. And the reason for that is the local fishermen have said it's because these cruise ships, when they pull into Orkney Harbour, Orkney Bay, they purge themselves. Now, they can't purge themselves while they're sailing, but they can purge themselves once they're at anchor. And what they do is they empty the heavy diesel oil that's been used. They empty anything that can't be recycled, and that sinks to the bottom of the bay. And that is where the crabs and lobsters live. So
is that true? Is that genuinely true?
That is genuinely true. I went on the Orkney Reporter, which is a newspaper, and it was talking about whether or not they should ban cruise ships. And at the moment, the last 5 years, the number of cruise ships that have been allowed to go to Orkney has more than halved. So they're getting rid of them, just as Visit Isle of Man are trying to get more to come here. It just doesn't make sense. Even the Shetlands are voting whether or not they want them anymore. Because the Shetland Islanders voted that the fact that they could not see any benefit to the economy with having cruise ships coming in, because people weren't spending any money.
My word. Well, I hope nothing like that happens here.
Well, nobody spends any money when they come off a cruise ship here. What do they want to buy? There's nothing that they can't get on the cruise ship. And another thing as well, just slightly different, a little tangent to the right here, the steam packet. Now, the steam packet have only just realised that the Liverpool's got tides, okay? Now, we've had tides in Liverpool since the Earth was formed in the Big Bang back in the day. Now, there's always been tides. How can a cruise ship dock in Liverpool but the Manxmen can't when the tide's in and out. There was a cruise ship in Liverpool yesterday, but according to the Manxmen, the tides are so bad they can't get in and out.
Is it just the fact? Is it just the fact? I mean, how much further down is it from where we used to be by the Liver building? Is it half a mile or so?
Yeah, it's about half a mile down. But even so, they've got to go where they are. Was always very, very bad. I mean, I can remember, because I used to work for the steam packet back in the 70s as a young boy, but even back then when the tides was running out, you could see the sandbanks. Now, surely the steam packet should have took all this into account before they agreed with Peel Holdings to build a jetty there. But once again, whoever signed off, whichever clown at the steam packet says, oh, do you know what, let's just go for it. They've not done any homework whatsoever.
Well, was that steam packet, or was it DOI? Because isn't that sea terminal there, isn't that ours at the moment? Haven't we got a long-term lease on that? That's ours, isn't it?
Yeah, that's ours. We're paying Peel Holdings. I'm fairly certain it's a peppercorn rent, but we are paying Peel Holdings. But that is ours. And the final little whine I'm going to have here, Andy, is, like I said, I used to work for the steam packet back in the 70s. Now, if anybody from Visit Isle of Man's listening to this, and they probably are, they're probably having an all-expenses-paid lunch, what they need to do is look at visitors to come from Liverpool for a day trip. Now, we've got 3 ferries. We can use the Mannin, the Speedcraft. You get to Mannin into Liverpool, 6 o'clock in the morning. They're here at 10 o'clock. You take them back at 4 o'clock. They're here for, 8 hours. You get 600 or 700 passengers. They're going to spend a lot of money on the island for the day. The reason the steam packet won't do it, Andy, is because foot passengers are a liability. They make their money from cars and particularly from freight.
Sure.
They don't make any money from foot passengers. But there's a little thing for Visit Isle of Man. If they want to get in touch with the steam packet and say, oh, we've had a brilliant idea about how we can get visitors, they can have that for free.
OK, what's on the Isle of Man for day visitors from Liverpool that they can't get in Liverpool?
Well, shopping-wise, not a lot, but you have got things like, as pained as it must be for me to say it, but you've got the likes of Davidson's. You know, they've got very good ice cream. You've got little Manx shops. There's a Manx shop in Nelson Street where you can buy tartan and stuff like that. You've got little individual bespoke shops in Ramsey. They can go to the various... I mean, let's face it, you don't have many castles in Liverpool, do you? They've got castles and stuff, and if they could be bothered to open the museum, there's a museum as well that they could go and have a little wander around. And, of course, Andy, mine and your favourite, the Halfway Horse Tram.
Oh, wow. There we are, the Halfway Horse Tram. Can you imagine?
I mean, that in itself, Andy, should get 500 or 600 people on the Mannin.
All right. Good to hear from you, Mark. Thanks for calling.
All right, mate. Have a good one, fella.
You too. 847 says, a message from a concerned parent. We have a child who has ARFID, A-R-F-I-D. It's avoidant or restrictive food intake disorder. And I urge anybody to do their own research into the problem. However, can you believe we have absolutely nobody on the Isle of Man qualified to deal with this ARFID, avoidant or restricted food intake disorder? I've raised this as a formal complaint with MHKs, which has been upheld. However, they don't seem to want to do anything about it. They're unwilling to provide him any UK-based care, yet more questions for the Health Minister to answer. MHKs seem to forget there's a young innocent child at the heart of some of these problems. We've basically been told, yes, your complaint is upheld, but nothing we can do about it. Thanks, 847. If you have a view on that or it affects you, then by all means do get in touch. And a note in just saying, if Claire Christian is listening and wants to contact me directly, you can give her my phone number, says 847. OK, well, we'll keep you on record. Thanks for that. How many people fell for the April Fool's Day about Mark Cavendish yesterday? Well, a few did. Let's put it that way. MHKs as a chief officer, DHSC are looking for a chief officer. Now the minister wants a review of DHSC and MHKs. It's cart before the horse, says Gaz. Look at all the money you could save. Thank you, Gaz. Isle of Man newspapers, £2.20 per copy. Is that right? How much is an independent nowadays and an examiner? As a manual worker, the worst thing that was done was doing away with manual workers, as 4% on the ground is an insult, says Nettie. Manx has just announced more delays to the breast cancer service. Can anybody suggest a 2% health tax when the current service is dangerously degraded? We should bring back DHSC with a current funding level. And that's from 284. There's a DOI van that parks in Somerset Road overnight and at weekends. Is that a perk for the member of staff, saving them from using their own vehicle, says Andrea. Well, it would be interesting to know from Mr. Robinson at DOI whether or not anything came of that survey and it went round to all local authorities, of their views of large vans and lorries parking in residential areas, and maybe that is something that affects you. If somebody's got a works van that they park outside the house, maybe next to your house, maybe opposite your house, purely because either there's no space for it to be parked at their works or they're supposedly on call. Our MHKs are in effect contract workers who receive, unlike any other contract worker, half a year's salary for redundancy, equivalent to 5 times what the statutory rate, and after 2 terms a full pension, equivalent to 4 times the standard government pension with voluntary contributions. This is 109. Not bad for a job paying $80,000 with a 40k pension. Who else agrees and votes on their own remuneration? Says, well, it's not true that they get a half a year's salary for redundancy. It's if they stand for office and don't get in, then they do. If they're a sitting MHK and they stand for office and don't get voted in, then there's a payment. I think if they don't stand, they don't get. And more messages about the Welsh signs and what we can do with them. DOI has fined £400,000 for 20-mile-per-hour signs, but they can't renew faded white road markings in a lot of places, including the zebra crossings, which are a safety issue, says Gaz. Same point as well, a note in from Terry, who says, how come Tesco can find money to renew their car park paint, but the Isle of Man government leaves our zebra crossings unpainted? And presumably you mean the zigzags around the zebra crossings. Tommy's on now. Hi, Tommy.
Hi, Andy. A long time no speak, mate.
Good to hear from you.
I live up in Victoria Avenue now, just down the road from the grandstand, Andy. And I'd ask you, go up there on your way and stand by the pit wall, Andy, and you see every single car is not only exceeding everything, it's 40 miles an hour is a slow speed, Andy, and they have to do it because they're getting so much pressure from their cars behind.
Right. And
I stand there and I shake my head, and there's not a single police officer out, with a speed camera, and why not?
Yeah, that's what I can't understand, Tommy. The thing is, if there are going to be rules and regulations, they should be enforced. There's got to be a sanction if you transgress. Otherwise, you're just putting signs up for the sake of it. Is almost a vanity project. It's almost like saying, well, you make it up yourselves as you go along.
But it'll be impossible to police, though, Andy. They'll have to charge about 5,000 motorists every day. If they insist on this 20 mile an hour, which Herbert decided on that, Andy, then?
Well, originally there were some MHKs who wanted 20 miles per hour around built-up areas, and Ann Corlett was one in Douglas Central. Ann Corlett wanted 20 miles per hour around the Ballabruey, Alexander Drive area there, and Ballacomine High School. That's what she wanted because that's congested around there and it's fairly built up. So it kind of started from there, and I think it's been taken out to residential areas everywhere.
I know. Well, we didn't pass our test to be told to drive at 20 miles an hour, Andy.
Actually, once upon a time, Tommy, you could be failed. You could fail your driving test for driving too slow.
Exactly. You're quite correct, Andy. If you're hesitant about what, because they'd spot that you weren't going to be a good driver if you weren't going to go over 20 miles an hour. And they'd fail you on your first test, but they'll have to just go up there, please, Andy, and every single car speeds past the grandstand.
Okay, all right. Appreciate it. Thanks for calling, Tommy. Good to hear from you. Don't leave it so long next time.
No, thanks, Andy, and you, mate. Good to speak to you. Cheers, Andy.
Cheers now. 4 minutes before 1. The other day, you were talking about the organ opt-out. Well, this wasn't talked about 2 years ago, and I'm sure I emailed them to opt out. Just a thought, how about changing the rules for standing for keys? This is a WhatsApper, 815. Make it a prerequisite that any candidate has to have served as a commissioner before they stand for election as an MHK. This would mean that they'll get some more people to serve as local commissioners. Just a thought. The opposite to aversion therapy, is it? The lads are out painting lines, plus some of us are on call. That's why we've got a van, says this WhatsApper. We've had a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit in Laxey for years, never policed except TT, never adhered to. A complete waste of time. Has anybody ever been done for speeding in Laxey in that 20-mile-an-hour zone?
When the Mannin Line's not on air, call Manx Radio to leave your opinion for broadcast on 682 631.
That's the answer phone number. It's always monitored, and if you want to leave a message any time of day or night, 682-631. I mentioned this yesterday, but I'll do it again, and it's if you have a webcam. We've got a webcam page on manxradio.com. It's on Island Information, and you can see that we've got about a dozen webcams around the Isle of Man, but we'd like some more. So if you've got a webcam with an iconic or scenic view, and if you'd like to offer it to us, we can put it on our webpage, and people will see the Isle of Man. It gets lots of visitors who love to see the Isle of Man. So if you've got a webcam and we can use it, then by all means, email me, email manninline at manxradio.com. Manninline at manxradio.com. And while you're at it, take a look at the website, Island Information, webcams, and you can see right around the island. If the terminal in Liverpool was signed off by a government representative, who would it have been? Was it the ports director at that time? Was it Anne Reynolds, says Pete? That's it. Enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the weather. Back tomorrow, Thursday lunchtime, with another open line. Thanks to Chris on the phones today.
WINT.